Chosen one. What if tonight you ignored God's voice and it cost you everything? I'm talking to the one whose heart just skipped, the one who's been walking through nights that feel like deserts, the one who's wondered if God still sees you, still knows your name, still has a plan when everything around you whispers forgotten. Listen close. Heaven is no longer whispering, it's roaring. Right now, in this very moment, there's a divine train pulling into your station, and I need you to understand something that will shake you to your core. This train, it doesn't come twice. Those who miss it, they spend the rest of their lives wondering what could have been. You've been asking for a sign, crying out in those 3 a.m. moments when the silence felt like abandonment, begging heaven to show you that your story isn't over, that your best days aren't behind you, that there's still something magnificent waiting. This is your sign. A portal just opened, and it has your name written in light. You're not here by accident. You didn't stumble onto this message. You were led here by the same God who's been orchestrating every heartbreak, every setback, every lonely night to bring you to this prophetic hour. In the next few seconds, your whole spiritual atmosphere could shift, but only if you lean in, only if you stop running from the voice that's been chasing you through the wilderness. If you know this is for you, if something in your spirit just caught fire, don't wait. Type 777 the comments right now. Let heaven see your signal. Show the Almighty that you're ready to receive what He's been preparing in secret. Because what I'm about to reveal, it's not just another message. It's the missing piece you've been searching for. The prophetic word that will explain why you've walked through hell and still have breath in your lungs. To everyone who's supported this message through prayer, through time, through faithful giving, you're not just helping a channel reach people. You're helping heaven reach someone who's drowning in the dark. You're part of this divine rescue mission. Now breathe. Stay close. Lock your eyes on these words, because what you're about to hear has the power to rewrite everything, and if you turn away now, you'll miss the one thing heaven wrote for you alone. Do you hear it? That sound cutting through the noise of your ordinary Tuesday morning. Do you feel it, that tremor in your spirit that says something eternal just shifted in your direction? Most people mistake divine alarms for coincidence. They silence the ringing, they ignore the pull. They turn away from the very voice that could save their soul from a lifetime of regret. But you're still here. You're still listening. And that tells me everything I need to know about what heaven sees in you. Listen to what the Almighty whispered through King David in Psalm 91. Whoever dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. This isn't poetry, dear one. This is your safety code, your spiritual GPS coordinates for the storm that's coming. Because make no mistake, a storm is coming, not just for the world, but for every soul walking this earth. And God is positioning His lighthouses right now, setting His chosen ones in place, preparing those who will shine when the darkness gets thick. The question burning in heaven's court today is this: will you be a lighthouse, or will you be another ship that ignored the light? You see, there's something most believers never understand about God's timing. When He sounds an alarm, it's not a suggestion. It's not a gentle invitation you can RSVP to when it's convenient. When the Creator of the universe interrupts your regularly scheduled programming, it's because your spiritual life depends on what happens next. Right now, in this very moment, you're standing at the crossroads of destiny and disaster. And I'm not being dramatic. I'm being prophetic. Think about Noah. God gave him a warning about rain when the skies were crystal clear. Most people thought he was crazy, building that massive boat while the weather was perfect. They mocked him. They ignored the warning. They went about their daily routines, eating, drinking, marrying, planning their futures, right up until the moment the first drop fell. By then, it was too late. The door was shut. And it wasn't Noah who shut it. It was God himself. How many of those people do you think spent their final moments wishing they had listened, wishing they had taken the warning seriously, wishing they had recognized the sound of heaven's alarm bell when it was ringing right in their ears? You're hearing that same alarm right now. Your heart is pounding a little faster than it was 5 minutes ago. Your spirit is stirring. Something deep inside you is saying, "This is different. This matters. This is for me." That's not anxiety you're feeling, beloved. That's recognition. That's your soul remembering what it knew before you were born, that you were marked, chosen, set apart for such a time as this. But here's what's breaking God's heart today. How many of his chosen ones are going to treat this moment like just another YouTube video? How many are going to hear his voice and then scroll away to watch something about cooking or politics or celebrity gossip? How many are going to silence the very alarm that was designed to save their spiritual life? The lighthouse doesn't chase the ships. It stands firm, it shines bright, and it trusts that those who need to see the light will look up. But if a ship's captain is too proud, too distracted, too convinced, he knows a better way. That lighthouse watches helplessly as the rocks tear the hull apart. God is your lighthouse tonight. His word is your light. And the rocks that destroy souls are closer than you think. I'm talking about the rock of regret, the rock of missed opportunity, the rock of ignored calling, the rock of what if I had just listened when God was speaking, because he is speaking. Right now, through these words, through the quickening in your chest, through the way your spirit just whispered, pay attention. This isn't just another inspirational message you'll forget by morning. This is heaven's final boarding call for the season of your life that starts now. The season where God stops asking and starts moving. The season where he stops waiting for your permission and starts expecting your obedience. You've been in preparation long enough. You've been in the valley long enough. You've been wondering if God still has a plan for your life long enough. The wondering stops tonight. In just a few moments, I'm going to reveal why this exact season, this month, this week, this very day, is your make or break moment. Why God has been orchestrating circumstances, moving people, shifting situations to bring you to this prophetic crossroads. But first, I need you to understand something that will change how you see everything that's about to unfold. Chosen one. Let me tell you something that's going to cut straight to the bone. You think those sleepless nights at 2 a.m. are just insomnia. You think that crushing weight on your chest when you wake up is just anxiety. You think those whispers telling you it's too late, you're too old, you've missed your chance are just your own thoughts. Think again. There's a calculated war being waged against your soul right now, and the enemy has been studying you for decades. He knows exactly where to strike. He knows your health scares keep you awake. He knows your social security check barely covers the rent. He knows your own children don't call anymore. He knows you look in the mirror and wonder if God's forgotten your address. But here's what Satan doesn't want you to know. Every single attack on your life has been because he sees something in you that terrifies him. You think the devil wastes his time on nobodies. You think he sends his strongest demons after people who don't matter. Listen to me carefully. That heart attack that nearly took you out, that wasn't just bad genetics. That financial crisis that wiped out your retirement, that wasn't just bad luck. That family betrayal that left you eating dinner alone for the past 3 years, that wasn't just unfortunate circumstances. You've been targeted. Specifically. Intentionally, because you carry something he desperately wants to steal before you realize what it is. Every morning when you feel like you can't take another day, that's his voice. Every time you look at younger people and think my time is over, that's his lie. Every time you feel like God's moved on to someone more worthy, more useful, more young, that's his masterpiece of deception. But I've got news for you. And for him. Isaiah 54:17 declares, No weapon formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue which rises against you in judgment you shall condemn. This is the heritage of the servants of the Lord. Did you hear that? This is your heritage, not your hope, your heritage. It's already done, already sealed, already guaranteed. The enemy thought he could wear you down with medical bills. Wrong. He thought he could isolate you by turning your family cold. Wrong again. He thought he could convince you that your best days were behind you. Dead wrong. Every weapon he's formed, every lie he's whispered, every door he's slammed in your face. It's all backfiring right now. Because you're still here. You're still breathing. You're still seeking God's voice. And that, dear friend, that is what's driving him absolutely insane. He threw everything at Job. Everything. Health, wealth, family, friends. Left him sitting in ashes, scraping his skin with broken pottery. But Job never cursed God. And when the dust settled, God restored everything double. The enemy threw David into caves, running for his life from a jealous king. But those cave years, that's where David wrote the Psalms that have carried billions through their darkest nights. He tried to drown Moses in the Nile as a baby. Failed. Tried to trap him at the Red Sea with Pharaoh's army breathing down his neck. Failed again, because you cannot kill what God has chosen to preserve. And you, sitting there with your Medicare statements and your prescription bottles and your quiet house, you think you're powerless, you think your season is over. The enemy has been feeding you that lie because he knows the truth. He knows that the prayers of the elderly move heaven faster than the prayers of the young. He knows that when someone who's walked through hell for 60, 70, 80 years finally gets fed up and says, "Enough," the spiritual realm shakes. He knows that your scars are your credentials. Your survival is your testimony. Your endurance is your weapon. That's why he's been working overtime to convince you otherwise. That's why every commercial shows young, beautiful, successful people. That's why society whispers you should step aside, fade away, become invisible. Because an awakened senior citizen who knows their worth in God's kingdom, that's the enemy's worst nightmare. If you've ever felt like life's storms were aimed straight at you, say amen out loud right now, because they were, but they missed. You're still standing. You're still here. You're still chosen. The question is, are you ready to stop believing his lies and start walking in the truth of who God says you are? Because what I'm about to show you next will shatter every limitation he's tried to put on your future. Listen to me, chosen one. You think you're the first person God has called to stand at the edge of impossibility. You think you're the first soul he's whispered urgent instructions to while the world around you sleeps in comfortable ignorance. Let me take you back to when heaven broke through the ordinary and demanded extraordinary obedience from ordinary people, people just like you. Picture Noah, an old man with calloused hands and a heart that heard God's voice when everyone else heard silence. Genesis 6:19 tells us God said, "Bring into the ark 2 of all living creatures, not tomorrow, not when it's convenient, now." Noah started building. 1 plank at a time, 1 nail at a time, while his neighbors laughed, while his own family questioned his sanity, while the sun blazed overhead in a cloudless sky and everyone mocked the crazy old fool building a boat in the desert. But Noah had heard the voice, the urgent, unmistakable voice of the Almighty, and he knew something they didn't know. When God speaks with urgency, delay equals destruction. The rain came, just like God said it would. And while Noah's family floated safely above the chaos, those who had mocked his foolish obedience, they discovered too late that ignoring God's urgent warning doesn't make it less true. It just makes the consequences more devastating. Now let me ask you something that should shake you to your core. How many divine warnings in your life have you dismissed as coincidence? How many times has heaven tried to prepare you for what's coming, and you've been too busy, too skeptical, too comfortable to listen? Think about Joseph, 17 years old when God gave him dreams that seemed impossible. Genesis 37:9 records his vision. The sun and moon and 11 stars were bowing down to me. His own brothers wanted to kill him for daring to believe God's impossible promise. They threw him in a pit, sold him into slavery. He was falsely accused, imprisoned, forgotten in a dungeon for years. Every single day, Joseph could have looked at his circumstances and said, "God lied to me." This isn't a divine setup. This is a divine abandonment. But every betrayal was positioning, every setback was set up, every delay was divine strategy. When famine struck Egypt, when nations faced starvation, when Pharaoh needed someone who could interpret dreams and manage crisis, there was Joseph, right where God had been placing him all along. Genesis 50:20 captures it perfectly. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good, to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. Your pain hasn't been pointless, chosen one. Your struggles haven't been punishment. Every closed door, every betrayal, every night you've cried yourself to sleep, wondering if God has forgotten you. It's been preparation. Divine positioning for a moment of impact you can't even imagine yet. But here's what terrifies me for you. What if you're so focused on your pit that you miss your palace? What if you're so bitter about the betrayal that you reject the breakthrough? Now, listen to Esther's story, because this will cut you to the bone. She was an orphan, powerless, invisible, living in exile, in a foreign land, under foreign rule. Then suddenly, impossibly, she's chosen as queen. Not because she lobbied for it, not because she had connections, because God was positioning her for a moment that would save an entire nation. Esther 4:14 records her uncle Mordecai's urgent warning. If you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance will arise from another place, but you and your father's family will perish. And who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this, for such a time as this. 5 words that should be thundering in your spirit right now. Esther faced a choice. Play it safe, stay comfortable, avoid the risk, or step into the dangerous, terrifying, magnificent purpose God had been preparing her for. One decision, one act of courage, one moment of saying, "If I perish instead of, what if I fail?" She saved an entire people, because she didn't let fear steal her moment. Here's what's wrecking me as I speak to you right now. You are Esther. You are Joseph. You are Noah. You're standing at the exact same crossroads they faced. Heaven is speaking with the same urgency, the same divine desperation to get your attention before it's too late. But unlike them, you have their stories to learn from. You can see how God worked through their obedience. You can witness the devastating consequences of delay, of dismissal, of playing it safe when God is calling you to step out. So why are you still hesitating? Why are you still waiting for more confirmation, more signs, more perfect circumstances? The urgent word, God, has been whispering to your spirit. The dream that won't let you sleep. The burden for something greater that keeps burning in your chest. That's not your imagination. That's your Esther moment, your Joseph preparation, your Noah assignment. And like them, you're standing at the edge of history's turning point. The question isn't whether God is speaking. The question is whether you're going to obey what you've already heard. Because if you ignore it, if you let fear win, if you choose comfort over calling, you won't just miss your moment. You'll spend the rest of your life watching someone else walk in the breakthrough that should have been yours. Time is not your friend here, chosen one. Every day you delay is a day closer to the door closing forever. Every excuse you make is another nail in the coffin of your destiny. What if tonight is your last chance to say yes to the impossible thing God has been asking of you? 5. Personal confrontation. Chosen one. I need to look you in the eye right now. Not through this screen, but soul to soul. Because what I'm about to ask you is going to cut deeper than any sermon you've ever heard. What promise has God whispered to you at 2 a.m. that you've ignored? You know what I'm talking about. Those sleepless nights when the house is quiet, when the weight of your years presses down like a stone on your chest. When you hear that still, small voice speaking dreams that seem too big, too late, too impossible for someone your age. What did he tell you? What did he show you in those sacred midnight moments that you dismissed as wishful thinking? Let me paint a picture that's going to sting. You're sitting in your favorite chair, the one that knows the shape of your body, the weight of your sorrows. The television flickers with faces decades younger than yours, selling dreams to a world that's moved on without you. And in that silence, a thought creeps in like smoke under a door. I've wasted it all. The years you spent climbing ladders that led nowhere. The relationships you let crumble while chasing success that tasted like ash in your mouth. The children who stopped calling because you were too busy, too proud, too wounded to bridge the gap. The grandchildren who barely know your voice because pride built walls higher than love could climb. You remember when your dreams had wings, don't you? When you believed God had something magnificent planned for your life. When you thought 50 would be the beginning of your greatest chapter, not the slow fade to invisible. When you imagined 70 would find you wise and wealthy, not weary and wondering where it all went wrong. But here's the knife twist that cuts deepest. Somewhere along the way, you stopped believing God still saw you. You convinced yourself that his plans were for younger people, stronger people, people who hadn't already made such a mess of the first draft of their lives. The Lord your God is with you, the mighty warrior who saves. He will take great delight in you. In his love he will no longer rebuke you, but will rejoice over you with singing. Zephaniah 3:17 isn't past tense, beloved. It's present, right now, this moment. What if everything you've labeled as failure was actually preparation? What if every door that slammed in your face was God's way of keeping you from settling for less than his best? What if the years you think you've wasted were actually the classroom where he taught you the very wisdom you need for what's coming next? You've been carrying regret like a stone in your chest, haven't you? The weight of words you should have said, choices you should have made, love you should have given. You replay conversations from decades ago, wondering how different your life would be if you'd been braver, kinder, wiser. The enemy has convinced you that your past disqualifies you from your future. But what if regret wasn't the end? What if tonight was the turning point? What if the very pain you've been dragging behind you like chains was actually the key to unlock someone else's prison? What if your mistakes weren't disqualifications but your credentials for the ministry God has been preparing you for all along? Listen to me carefully. God doesn't waste anything. Not your tears, not your failures, not your broken dreams. Romans 8:28 doesn't come with an age limit. All things work together for good for those who love God and are called according to his purpose. All things. Including the things you're ashamed of, including the years you think you lost, including the relationships you think you've ruined beyond repair. Right now, as I speak these words, the Holy Spirit is moving through your living room, your bedroom, wherever you are. He's whispering the same thing he whispered to Moses at 80. I am sending you. He's breathing the same life. He breathed into Caleb at 85. Give me this mountain. He's speaking the same promise. He spoke to Abraham at 99. Nothing is impossible with me. But here's what terrifies me. What if you let this moment pass? What if you close this video, shake your head and say, "It's too late for me"? What if you choose the familiar comfort of your disappointment over the terrifying beauty of God's possibility? Because tomorrow morning, you'll wake up one day older, one day closer to the grave, and one day further from the miracle that's knocking on your door right now. The train is at your station, chosen one. The conductor is calling your name, but the doors won't stay open forever. Your greatest chapter isn't behind you. It's waiting for you to have the courage to turn the page. Chosen one, we've reached the summit where faith and fear collide in an all-out war for your destiny. This is where the rubber meets the road, where the whispers stop and the roar begins. Hebrews 11:1 declares, "Faith is confidence in what we hope for, and assurance about what we do not see." But let me tell you what that really means in the trenches of your life. Faith isn't some fluffy Sunday school concept. Faith is your weapon when the doctor's report says terminal. Faith is your ammunition when the bank account shows zero. Faith is your shield when the family turns their back and walks away. You want to know why you've been walking through hell? Because God needed to show you what kind of steel you're made of. He needed to prove to you and to every demon that's been whispering lies in your ear that you don't break. You bend, you burn, but you don't break. Right now, you're standing at your Red Sea moment. The world looks at your situation and sees a dead end, the bills piled high, the marriage hanging by a thread, the children who won't return your calls, the dreams that seem buried under 20 years of disappointment. The world sees impossible, but God sees a highway. When Moses stood with his back to the sea and Pharaoh's army charging, everybody saw death. God saw deliverance. When the children of Israel saw water, God saw a path. When they saw drowning, God saw dancing on the other side. Your breakthrough isn't coming in one dimension. It's coming in layers. Financial freedom that'll make your head spin. Health restoration that'll leave doctors scratching their heads. Emotional healing that'll close wounds you thought would bleed forever. Spiritual awakening that'll connect you to heaven in ways you never imagined. But here's the catch. And listen, close faith requires you to move before you see the miracle. Abraham left his homeland without a GPS. Noah built an ark without a weather report. David ran toward Goliath without armor. Faith always moves first. You've been waiting for the perfect moment, the right bank balance, the ideal circumstances, the complete healing. But God's saying, move now, step now, believe now. I'm talking to the 70-year-old who thinks it's too late, the widow who believes her best days died with her husband, the father who's convinced his prodigal son will never come home, the grandmother whose prayers feel like they're bouncing off the ceiling. Your age is not your expiration date, your past is not your prison, your pain is not your permanent address. When you were young, you had energy but no wisdom. Now you have wisdom, and God's about to give you supernatural energy to match it. When you were young, you had dreams but no resources. Now you have resources, and God's about to resurrect dreams you thought were dead and buried. The enemy's been whispering, "You missed your chance. You blew your opportunity. You should have done this 20 years ago." That's a lie straight from the pit of hell. God doesn't operate on human timetables. Sarah had Isaac at 90. Moses led Israel at 80. Caleb conquered mountains at 85. Your climbing isn't over. It's just beginning. But faith demands action. Not next week. Not after you pray about it for 6 more months. Now, this very moment, heaven is waiting for your yes. The angels are holding their breath. The Father is leaning forward on his throne. Every delay has been preparation. Every setback has been set up. Every tear has been an investment in the miracle that's about to unfold. But you've got to climb. Step by step, breath by breath, through the fear that tries to paralyze you, through the doubt that whispers you're too old, too broken, too far behind. Moses didn't part the Red Sea with his staff. His obedience did. His willingness to stretch out his hand when everything in his natural mind said impossible. Your obedience is the key that unlocks your Red Sea miracle. Stop waiting for fear to leave. It won't. Fear and faith will ride the elevator together, but you decide which one gets off at your floor. If you feel God tugging on your spirit right now, don't scroll away. Don't treat this like entertainment. This is your commissioning ceremony. Stay planted. Your prophetic word is coming. The question that'll determine your next 20 years isn't whether God can do it. The question is whether you'll trust him enough to take the first step into your impossible. Are you ready to climb when everything in you wants to quit? Are you ready to believe when the evidence says otherwise? Are you ready to step into the miracle that's been waiting for your faith to show up? Because on the other side of your obedience is a life so magnificent, so beyond what you've imagined, that you'll spend eternity thanking God you didn't let fear have the final word. 7. The aha revelation. Chosen one. Stop everything you're doing right now. What I'm about to tell you will shatter every lie the enemy has whispered in your ear for decades. You think you've been cursed. You think God forgot your address. You think those sleepless nights, those unanswered prayers, those doors that slammed in your face were proof that heaven gave up on you. You're wrong. Dead wrong. Here's the revelation that's about to set your soul on fire. Your pain was never punishment. It was preparation. Every regret, every scar, every delay, every heartbreak that left you gasping for air, heaven wasn't abandoning you. Heaven was aligning your story for this moment. Romans 8:28 doesn't lie when it declares, "All things work together for good, to them that love God, to them who are called according to his purpose." All things. Not just the pretty things, not just the comfortable things. All things. That divorce that nearly killed you. Preparation. That job you lost at 62. Preparation. Those children who stopped calling. Preparation. That diagnosis that made you count your days instead of your blessings. Preparation. You've been asking the wrong question. You've been crying, "God, why me?" when you should have been declaring, "God, what are you preparing me for?" Listen to me, precious soul. The God who counted every tear that fell on your pillow wasn't collecting them as evidence against you. He was bottling them as ingredients for your breakthrough. Psalm 56:8 says, "He puts your tears in his bottle, not to shame you, but to show you that nothing you've endured was wasted." Every betrayal taught you discernment. Every financial struggle taught you to trust beyond your bank account. Every lonely night taught you that your worth doesn't come from human applause. Every closed door forced you to develop spiritual muscles you never knew you had. You think you're broken? You're not broken. You're breakthrough ready. You think you're behind? You're not behind. You're being positioned. You think it's too late? Child of God, it's not too late. It's right on time. Here's what the enemy doesn't want you to know. He attacked you so viciously because he saw what God planted in you before you were even born. He saw your destiny. He saw your assignment. He saw the lives you were going to touch, the prayers you were going to answer, the hope you were going to carry into rooms full of despair. So he threw everything he had at you: depression, anxiety, shame, regret, financial ruin, family dysfunction, health scares. He piled it on thick, hoping you'd buckle under the weight and never discover who you really are. But here you are, still breathing, still believing, still showing up to hear what God wants to say to you. That's not luck, beloved. That's favor. Your survival isn't an accident. Your resilience isn't ordinary. Your ability to keep getting back up when life keeps knocking you down isn't human. It's divine. God has been preparing you in the wilderness for a purpose so significant that he couldn't trust it to someone who hadn't been tested. He couldn't give it to someone who would crumble at the first sign of opposition. He needed someone who had learned to praise him in the storm, trust him in the darkness, and love him even when his ways didn't make sense. That someone is you. Every gray hair on your head is a crown of wisdom earned through battle. Every wrinkle on your face is a map of journeys that would have destroyed weaker souls. Every ache in your body is proof that you've carried weight others couldn't handle. You're not a victim of your circumstances. You're a victor over them. But here's the urgent word burning in my spirit. Your season of preparation is ending. Your season of manifestation is beginning. The very thing you've been prepared for is knocking at your door right now. You cannot afford to stay stuck in yesterday's pain when tomorrow's purpose is demanding your attention. You cannot afford to keep rehearsing old hurts when new assignments are waiting for your yes. The graveyard is full of people who died wondering what if. Don't you dare join them. Don't you dare let fear of failure rob you of your moment of triumph. Stand up, wherever you are. I don't care if you're in your living room, your car, or your hospital bed. Stand up in your spirit and declare with everything in you, I will not miss my moment. I will not let my preparation go to waste. I will not allow the enemy to steal what God has prepared for me. Because, chosen one, your story isn't ending, it's just beginning. And what's coming next will make every tear you've cried worth it. The question is, are you ready to step into the purpose your pain prepared you for? Conclusion. Chosen one, as we reach the end of this sacred moment together, I want you to carry 3 truths with you that will anchor your soul in the days ahead. First, remember this. Your pain was preparation, not punishment. Every tear you've shed has watered seeds of purpose that are about to bloom in ways you never imagined. The God who allowed your trials is the same God who will use them to qualify you for assignments that require someone who has walked through fire and emerged refined. Second, hold tight to this reality. You are not forgotten. You are not overlooked. You are not a mistake or an afterthought in God's grand design. Jeremiah 29:11 promises that his thoughts toward you are thoughts of peace, to give you a future and a hope. That future isn't someday. It's breaking into your today with divine timing that will leave you breathless. Third, never forget, your story isn't over. The chapters of struggle were not your conclusion, they were your foundation. What feels like an ending is actually your beginning. God specializes in resurrection, in bringing life from death, hope from despair, beauty from ashes. You are not walking this journey alone. The God who has carried you this far will not abandon you now. He who began a good work in you will complete it. And beyond his presence, you have a community right here, thousands of souls who understand your struggle, who have walked similar paths, who are praying for breakthrough in your life even as you read these words. In the comments below, I want you to know that this is more than just a video. This is a gathering place for God's chosen ones. Share what stirred in your spirit today. Ask for prayer if you need it. Encourage someone else who might be where you were yesterday. We are not meant to carry our burdens in isolation. We are meant to bear one another's burdens, and so fulfill the law of Christ. If this message found you at exactly the right moment, and I believe it did, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. Someone in your family, your circle, your community is waiting for the very hope that just filled your heart. You might be the vessel God uses to deliver his urgent message to their weary soul. Before you leave this sacred space, I want to ask you something that might change everything. What if God allowed you to hear this message, not just for your own healing, but because he's preparing you to be his voice of hope to someone else? What if your pain qualified you to minister to hearts that pastors who've never suffered couldn't reach? Let me pray over you now, as if I'm standing right beside you, my hand on your shoulder, speaking blessing over your life. Father God, I lift up every precious soul who has stayed with us through this entire message. Lord, you know their names, you know their stories, you know the weight they've carried and the battles they've fought in secret. Right now, I speak peace over their restless minds and healing over their wounded hearts. God, where they have felt forgotten, remind them they are chosen. Where they have felt abandoned, surround them with your presence. Where they have felt like failures, show them they are being prepared for victory. Break every chain of discouragement. Silence every voice of condemnation. Open doors that no man can shut. Lord, I pray for supernatural breakthrough in their finances, their health, their relationships, their purpose. Let this be the hour when delay turns to divine timing. Let this be the moment when their wilderness becomes their launching pad. Give them courage to step into what you've prepared for them. Give them faith to believe that their best days are not behind them, but ahead of them. And give them the boldness to become the voice of hope to others who are still walking through their dark valleys. In Jesus' mighty name, let it be so. Amen. Thank you for staying with me through this entire journey. Your faithfulness to hear God's heart shows me that His Spirit is moving powerfully in your life. If this message blessed you, please hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. You're not just subscribing to a channel, you're joining a family of believers who are committed to encouraging one another until Jesus comes. Remember, chosen one, your moment is now, your time is here, and your God is faithful. Until we meet again, keep believing, keep trusting, keep rising. The best is yet to come.